What's up, nerds? Welcome to Nintendo Pow Block, our all Nintendo show. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Dirrig, and alongside me, as always, that chocolatey deep dish man from that place in northern Chicago, Edward Varnell.
Everybody, I could be Contra with just with the machine gun.
Why? I wonder how many people that listen to the show get that reference. Anyways, Ed, how are you? I feel like we haven't talked in a while, mostly because I've locked myself in a dungeon trying to collect these Korok seeds.
I've been doing good. I finished my review for Horizon Zero Dawn. Actually, was a website to help me with my grammar because my grammar is terrible, and I admit that I some days. But this program helped me fix all my mistakes and stuff. And if you guys would like to read it, check out NGR Radio. It is shared. I believe I did share it on NGR Radio Facebook page. If not, I will be donating it up live on NGR Radio website where you guys will be able to read it. Just click on Eddie V, and you guys should be able to read that blog for it because I already got it written up and for that one I just need to put a rating on it, which I already have the review want to put on it. But you guys will be able to check it there. And that picked up Nier Automata, ready to start. Can't wait to start that, and about to jump into Persona 5. But literally about to spend time, just like Corey. Breath of the Wild, I got to get the Master Sword. I need that Master Sword. It's going to drive me crazy if I don't have
it. Yeah, I'm like, so I've been winding down my Zelda playing. I'm at 175 hours. I have 37 Korok seeds to find as of this recording. I do plan on finishing that up tonight. And then I think I'm going to wrap it up. I'm gonna I want 100% the game. Like that, there after you beat Ganon on your world map, there is a completion percentage, and so I want to make sure that says 100%. And there are things you can do in the game that do not require you do not add towards that 100%, like the Medals of Honor for taking down the 3 subsections of mini bosses. Those don't count towards your 100% completion. They're just nice little trinkets for you to own.
Do they reveal all the shrines after you complete the game, or you still gotta search for them?
You still have to search for them. The only thing that it does is on your quest map, like where under your you know how it's divided, like main quests, shrine quests, side quest memories.
Yeah.
Down underneath the description of the quests, it'll say main quests cleared, and I've beaten the game, so mine says 15 out of 15. And there's a star by my save file. And then it'll have how many you've done out of how many total. So I was missing 6 shrine quests, even though I got all the shrines. Mm-hmm. So and it said 36 out of 42, and I went back and found those. So I'm at 95.45% on my completion percentage. It's been this game, we're a month out, and I'm still trying to figure out where this game ranks on my all-time favorite games list. But not the excitement of playing it. What?
Oh, I was about to say it probably ranks one or 2.
I'm trying to not, because at the beginning I was like, man, this game's awesome, but I was trying to. It's with the hype of a new system and the new Zelda game, all this fluff of hype was around my brain, And so we're 5 or 6 weeks out from launch now of the Switch and Zelda, and like my expectations and everything have just kind of like gone away, and like I know what this game is and stuff. This game is easily in my top 3 favorite games of all time, if not setting a new standard for my favorite game of all time. Like, I am 175 hours in. I'm almost 100% complete. And part of me is like, I want to jump back in a new game and start a new game. Like, that's how much I want to be in this world and how much I want to play this game. Just keep playing it. And like, I've been trying to play other things. Like, I really have been trying to play other things. Like Snake Pass. I like Snake Pass a lot. It's challenging. Like, Snake Pass is super challenging. A platformer where you control a snake that can't jump is very it's different. Shovel Knight is still amazing, and Spectre of Torment is awesome. I've only played through the first level, but Spectre of Torment's awesome. The Puyo Puyo Tetris demo came out, and I played that a little bit, and that's fun. But like, everything is like, man, gotta go back to Zelda. And like, I cannot wait for the next meaty game to sit down and just grind through, because has no secret that Switch has sold extremely well, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And the fact that Zelda is like the main thing on it, sprinkled around a bunch of other like indie titles and smaller games. I can't wait for the next big meaty title to sit down and grind through. Like, I feel like the next game like that for me is going to be Fire Emblem Warriors. In terms of a Nintendo game, like I really want to sit down and play through Rhyme. Rhyme looks amazing. But in terms of a Nintendo title, I feel like Fire Emblem Warriors is going to be that.
But like, for me, like talking about a big meaty game, it's going to be Xenoblade 2. Because of the world that I got from Xenoblade Chronicles X, seeing the work that Monolith put in Breath of the Wild, I'm looking forward now to this big, vast, open world of 2. And to really put time and hours in, see what secrets I can find and stuff. I'm going to enjoy that, because I'm going to put like mad hours into it. And it won't replace my love for Breath of the Wild or anything. But like, as for a meaty RPG that I'm going to really dive in for Nintendo, I should say, it will be Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because pretty much when I get done with Persona 5, the next RPG that even on PlayStation that I'm going to look forward to is Final Fantasy 12: The Zodiac Sign. And that's like a remaster.
And like, I'm really focusing on like Nintendo games. Like, okay, so let me rephrase that. The next game I'm going to be diving deep into, and like, I know Mario Kart's coming, and I know Splatoon and ARMS are coming, but I don't really consider those meaty experiences like Zelda is. Like, those are fun multiplayer games, and like, I'm going to grind through Mario Kart and unlock everything in Splatoon and ARMS and try to unlock everything and stuff. But that's not a Zelda style experience. Like, I think Fire Emblem on 3DS, Shadows of Valencia, which is coming out in like 6 weeks from now, will be the next like huge Nintendo game I really, really get into. But in terms of where I'm at in my life and everything else, like, I'm really, really focused on Switch's library now, because of like, I like to spend time. I've said it a million times. I like to spend time with my wife and do things with other people. And the Switch is a very handy device just to whip out and play, and then I can plug it into my TV and keep playing. And that's the whole concept behind the system. But, in terms of big meaty experiences like Zelda, we've got Fire Emblem Warriors coming, which I'm super excited about. Mario Odyssey, and like you said, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which, after seeing how they helped design that open world in Zelda,
Hmm.
I'm excited to play a Xenoblade game in that style of world because you look at Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade Chronicles X to an extent, like those worlds are big, but there are vast areas of land where you're just walking across the land to get to the next objective or whatever. It's
Right.
not very dense, whereas like Zelda, even if the land is empty, there's always a Korok seed to find, a Bokoblin camp, mini boss, or some kind of town that you're traveling through. Like they're so smart about placement, and so I really can't wait for that next media experience. It's going to be awesome, and like I still have to finish Horizon. I'm sure I'll check out Persona at some point in Nier and something like that. But I'm really focused on the portability of this system.
Yes.
And like I told you before the show, my wife and I did a lot of things, adult things today that just kind of like suck and you have to do because you're an adult. And we're going to do some more stuff tonight that requires our attention as adults. And like I can't be spending my money like I used to. Like I just can't. And so I've been trying to place my money, like what am I going to have the most fun with, and how am I going to be able to spend the most time with these games. And right now that's Switch. I can't. Yeah, I could remote play my PS4, but that's not ideal. Like it's not fun, especially if you're playing on a Vita. It's not fun. Like you're missing buttons, you're touching the back screen, and sometimes you don't know if you're touching the right place. It's a mess. And like for me, I know we're going to say this for probably the next 3 to 5 to 6 years, but Switch is perfect right now. And like, I'm going to be sad when Zelda's over. I really am. But Zelda's pretty much all I've been playing. I've been trying to sprinkling, things here and there, but yeah, that was my big long. I can't wait for the next media experience on Switch.
Well,
and like, I was just gonna say, I know we've been like putting off this E3 predictions thing, and we already have a show planned for Thursday, and I kind of want to apologize to everybody that like I haven't been keeping up with a lot of things on the website or the YouTube page. I do try to get the audio up as fast as possible because that's our most popular form of consumption. But Ed and I have discussed a lot, and we're going to be covering a lot more Nintendo stuff ourselves, just to get information out there and just to have stuff for you guys, the fans. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. After we're done recording here, I'm going to get everything updated on the site and do a couple written things that are going to go up periodically throughout the week. So that's kind of an update from the back end of this. I know it looks like Ed and I are just doing this awesome show and this is all we do, but no, we do a lot on the back end for other people, and we've got plenty of other shows to keep us occupied, like World 1-1 and NGR Radio and all these other things, and Optional Opinions. So which I'm gonna have those shows back up on the site too. I want to get everything that you and I are doing and stuff back up on the site. So
yes.
Yeah. So anyways, sorry, that was just a mini update, and I'm just going to be sad when Zelda's over.
Well, and the thing with Zelda, and just this is the last thing, is that say from this point on, the Zelda franchise is going to be more open world. That happening for the next 2 games, they really have to think on how this mentality of an open world game is going to be handled because we don't want it to get stale or anything. And there are some Zelda fans who would love to actually have a story. I understand, you getting bits and pieces and a different story, but how do you mix a good story in a very free open world? And I want to say more a free open world is because in a row is the Grand Theft Auto games, the sandbox games. Free open world is a Zelda game. It is that the freedom that you have in the game, the direction is up to you. Auto games, those kind of open worlds, your direction is very limited because you can't really do anything besides maybe cause destruction or buy some clothes and get a haircut. Like you're limited to what you can do when you're not on a side mission or a mission or with a different character. So you are limited in those kind of open world games. Whereas Zelda, with all this freedom, if I want to go to Ganon for the start of the game, I have that option. I can't do that in the Grand Theft Auto. I can't go to the final section of the game and beat it.
Yeah.
But to see how a story is going to be handled in that free open world is what I would like to see. Because definitely for me, I would say after the end of Switch or the next system, I would love to get, maybe if it's an indie game if Nintendo decides to do it, I would love to get a linear Zelda again. And then some people be like, well, that needs to be on the 3DS.
I'm sure we'll get like a Link Between Worlds style game somewhere in between, Breath of the Wild and the next I don't know, in the next quote console type Zelda. Like I'm sure we'll get some sort of in between Zelda before this because Zelda's too popular to miss just to be gone for 6, 7, 8 years. We've had 2 games between Skyward Sword and this. People forget that. Plus the remakes and the HD updates and stuff. So like, I feel like if they give us like a holdover every 2.5 years of the linear Link Between Worlds style game, I feel like that's okay. So
yeah,
it's it's a thing. Zelda's a very important franchise in Nintendo, and I'm sure they're looking into how do we make this the most efficient process right now, because the Switch is hot, Zelda is hot, people want more Zelda, and but to make a new game, it's going to take them 3 or 4 years, I'm sure. Like I don't know if it's going to stay in this engine. I would like it to. I think this engine works for the Switch. I think it works for Zelda. I think the art direction works for them. I think they could do a lot of cool stuff with the engine, like darker. If they want to take like a darker take on Zelda within this engine, I think that would be cool, like a Majora's Mask style thing. Because the color palette for Breath of the Wild is very bright blues and bright greens, and with that crazy pinkish color, But I think if they took a more moodier approach, like a dark purples and reds and stuff, I think that would really fit this engine too. So they can do I guess what I'm saying is they could do a darker take on this world without necessarily changing the art direction, if that makes sense. So Zelda is so good. This makes me really excited for Mario and Xenoblade to see how they change those franchises too, because next show I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about Metroid, because that's part of my E3 predictions. So
well, it's funny that you mentioned Zelda being an important franchise to Nintendo. I see it as this: every franchise that Nintendo has put out is important, because you as a company, they release games that are important to fans. Something like Microsoft and Sony, they put something out to cater. It doesn't mean that it's not important or anything, but they cater to let's just call them the hardcore. Let's just say that. But they don't cater, like they haven't invested in enough franchises for them to make that title important to somebody's life. Like we could say that Metroid has a fan base because Metroid for a lot of people really means something. It really gives them that exploration taste. It gives them that sci-fi feeling. And you could write about the timeline, you could write stories about that. Can I say that same thing for Uncharted? I really can't say the same thing for Uncharted because, of course, there's only 4 games and some DLC. I feel like they use Uncharted to cater to the hardcore fan base, while it's still not being important. For Zelda, for a lot of people, it means a lot to them. It's important. It's important, like Zelda, Mario, Kirby, Samus. Let's just say Boxboard, the Rhythm Heaven game. Like all those franchises, they really mean something because people I don't want to say people want more of them, but it does something for them that they're going to enjoy. It's something that's going to be like, I got this franchise, this game in my library. I love it and it's important to me. It's because it does so much that is so unexpected that no other title can pair as much as what it does. And that might sound weird, but if I talk about Rhythm Heaven, if I talk about the Rhythm Heaven games or Elite Beat Ages and stuff, we can have a bigger conversation. Those music games like that has had more titles and has done more for people than anything in Parappa the Rapper did. If we talk about Parappa the Rapper, we're going to talk about the first part of the game, and who's going to talk about the rest of the game?
Yeah.
Like what has it done for gamers to make Parappa the Rapper very important to them and to their library and to their general gaming history? It doesn't do the same thing. Like something that Rhythm Heaven or the Elite Beat Ages or any kind of music game that Nintendo releases out.
Mm-hmm.
I probably could say this: if I see a game from Nintendo that says that is music from I think I don't care if the game is bad. I'm gonna go buy it because I know he got some raw music. I know he is a great composer. Can I say the same thing for anything that's been done in Sony's or in Microsoft games? And not to knock their composers or anything, but their history of music is not memorable or important to me like Kanji Kondo's music is.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I only grown up to it, but it's kind of, for some people, a soundtrack to their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how important Nintendo titles in general, the other companies.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, I mean, people know what the show is. They show up. They know what we do. So, but we're gonna jump back into some of this news. Like I mentioned earlier, Switch is selling very well. According to sources, Switch is the fastest selling Nintendo system ever. In the United States alone, it sold 9,006.
960,000.
Let me rephrase that. 906,000 units sold in the United States alone. Around the world, it has sold 2.6 million units in the month of March. So Reggie Fils-Aimé has gone on record saying Nintendo always tries to offer consumers something fun, new, and different, which they do. With its various play modes and innovative features of the Joy-Con controllers, Nintendo Switch provides a unique experience that people can take with them anywhere and share with anyone. We are proud and humbled that the Nintendo Switch has sold so well in its first month. So that's good news. Nintendo really needed a win, and they've got two on their hands right now with Zelda and the Switch. Like they've got two huge, impactful things on the market right now.
Yes,
and it's exciting because, like, not that I wasn't excited for Wii U games, but like this has a different aura of excitement around it. That, like, let's be honest. You and I talk with a lot of people in our small cinematic podcasty universe thing that we've all somehow gotten ourselves into, and
yes.
like a lot of people until the Switch came out have been pretty negative on Nintendo, like sometimes even straight up negative about Nintendo. And as a Nintendo fan, like sometimes you can see where they're coming from, but it also hurts because Nintendo does such good work, especially on the software side, that people don't want to take the chance to buy a system just to play Nintendo games, which is what I do. Like, I buy Nintendo boxes to play Nintendo games because Nintendo games are my favorite types of games to play.
Right.
I was listening to the Game Informer show the other day, and they did you remember a couple months ago, we did the Wii U thing, and now they did it. They did their Wii eulogy episode last week, and they said that they were joking, like, we need to make a top 10 games for Wii U, and then you start looking at their library, and they said that was the hardest list they've ever had to make because there are so many quality games on the system. And I agree with them. Like, the Wii U has so many hidden gems on it.
Right.
Like,
and that's not.
And they made smaller franchises more popular. Like Xenoblade Chronicles, like, had a small following on the Wii, right?
Yes.
Like, that the people who love that game, but people were so immersed in other games like Skyrim and Gears and Infamous and stuff like that they didn't turn on their Wiis to experience something like Xenoblade. And Xenoblade Chronicles X kind of put that game on the map, that series on the map. And now that the Switch is selling so well, I feel like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is going to be the breakout entry to that series because the system's popular. People want to play something meaty on this system because you can take it on the go. It's not a Vita. It's not missing features or buttons or anything. And like, I feel like the Wii U started that trend because, Pikmin got a third entry on that system, which is a very awesome game. And now, the rumors of Pikmin 4, Pikmin World, or whatever you want to call it, coming to Switch. Another Yoshi game is going to come to Switch. Mario Odyssey. We're like, people are saying it's the first 3D Mario since Galaxy. I think 3D World is better than both Galaxy games. I'm going to go out and say it. I feel like the Wii U did a lot, and the people who owned a Wii U are going to appreciate the Switch that much more.
Yes. Because
we're getting the evolutions of the Wii U franchises that we love, right? So,
yes.
I think that the Switch having this huge positive vibe around it is giving us as Nintendo fans a beacon to stand on, so people aren't going to be so negative about Nintendo all the time. And it sucks fighting. It sucks fighting on that hill sometimes. And you and me both know that.
This is the thing with the negativity about Nintendo for a lot of people. Nintendo for not going out after third parties.
So I mean, like, so what? And like, that makes the Switch even more. That makes the Switch even more appealing because, like, we're going to get those indie games to replace the third-party games.
But
and that's even more appealing to me for this thing being a portable.
But Corey, let me explain.
I'm sorry. I'm just getting really excited.
You're really excited. The thing about, and me and you talked about this, and I talked about other people in the podcast, our cinematic podcast universe, is that Nintendo shouldn't have to go after third party. Don't forget, during the time that third party, after they release a game, they were closing developers. So no matter how AAA the game was, some of the third party developers and publishers were unhappy with the sales, even though they did 1 million and more. Doing Grand Theft Auto numbers, see a game that on Nintendo get trash and people talk about, and continue the sales throughout its life cycle, compared to the hottest game that you get at that time, Nintendo shouldn't have to work to get third party. Hey, when third party was putting some of their games on Nintendo platforms were making them money. AKA, look at Square Enix and Bravely Default. That put Square Enix in the black. And they got mad because Tomb Raider only sold 1 million copies. But you're on 2 of the best platforms at that time. So how are you upset about that? Because they didn't do Grand Theft Auto numbers. You got Square Enix as a developer as a publisher got in their head and thought they was going to do more than what was expected. But here comes a little $40 game that not only changed turn-based strategy, but people were looking forward to your second game that you guys reported to the gaming press that it put you guys in the black.
Yeah.
And you put that on a Nintendo platform. Whether it's 3DS, whether it would have been Wii or Wii U, you cannot deny that for a lot of companies that when you put a game on a Nintendo platform, it's going to sell if you done treat it right.
Mm-hmm.
For Microsoft and Sony, you can have the hottest game, but once again, if I walk into GameStop and there's more copies of that hot title traded in than there is Nintendo, that Nintendo title is more acceptable and needed and more respected than it is that hot title that came out for the third party.
Yeah.
Because Nintendo wasn't closing developers and stuff like that. And yeah, you could say, well, Nintendo got money in the bank, but you as a third party are really seeing games on, like I said, on the other platforms and barely getting nothing to Nintendo. So why are you closing the developer after a game you just released? You spent all this money and you didn't let that game have any time to breathe. You thought you were going to release a game and get your coins at the time of release. And developers and publishers had that mindset on Nintendo platforms that they weren't going to make their money on a Nintendo platform. Everybody's looking for a Zombie U on Wii U because no one's playing it on your PlayStation or your Xbox 360. Nobody was playing it. Everybody's just like, I'm looking for the Wii U version of Zombie U. Xenoblade Chronicles, that had to get a petition to get onto Wii because it was so good and people were buying it, looking for copies, that GameStop was trying to give you $70 if you turned it in so they could sell it for $100. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. First of all, a Wii game. So when it gets to Wii U, regardless if you didn't get that big third-party game, you have tons of indie games to look forward to. You have more systems for their backlog that you probably haven't played or on that system that you could play, and Nintendo strong first and second party games that you could play on that system. Just because you can't play Grand Theft Auto 5 on Wii U doesn't mean that Wind Waker HD is not the equivalent of that game. Some people didn't own the GameCube. Some people never played it. Well, this is their first time, and I'm seeing more people still talking about to this day how impactful the Legend of Zelda Wind Waker was in video games. From the time it came to the GameCube to this re-release, how long have we talked about Grand Theft Auto? Remember about Grand Theft Auto 5 is how well it sold.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's just different types of gamers out there, I guess. That like, right. I mean, I understand not everybody's going to be like huge Nintendo fan, and like, there's different types of gamers out there where all they do is play Call of Duty and Madden and Grand Theft Auto, and that's an audience right there into themselves. But you know, people who like to play a lot of games would consider themselves a hardcore gamer, you know, are missing a lot by not appreciating what Nintendo is doing a lot of the time, right? Because of because of a weird art direction they like to take, or because of what the game looks like, or it looks like it's aimed towards kids, which it's really not. Have you played Pikmin? That game is hard. That is not a kids game. It's hard. And like, you look at Zelda, you look at Breath of the Wild. That is not a kids game. It is hard. That game gets hard at points. So
learn that game by your failures. You learn by your failures, and that's a good thing. That I think a lot of people, like in this generation, we live in. To me personally, as a podcaster and as a person who loves video games and writes about video games and stuff, even though I don't get paid for it, I have to own an Xbox. I have to own a PlayStation. I have to own a Nintendo system, because there's so many games and there's so much diversity that some of the other companies cannot give me. That makes me enjoy gaming in this generation better. Why I always go to Nintendo first, and I defend them and I love them, because they still to this very day focus on fun, but do stuff that no one would ever really to touch. And if they take ideas from other games, they implement them and they make it work to make those other companies who had it look at it and be like, how in the world that they were able to get it and make it fun, but we can't. Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption has become a bit paint by the numbers, where now everybody's going to look at open worlds and use Breath of the Wild as its foundation on how to look at an open world game. You cannot say now how does that apply to Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead, or any other sandbox game?
Well, we've already seen that. Like, we've already seen that with Horizon. Like, look how many people. Look at the people who played Horizon before Zelda, and look at the people who played Horizon after Zelda, and look how the opinions change. And like, people who played Horizon after Zelda say Horizon feels dated, and which sucks because it came out 3 days before Zelda, and that game looks beautiful. It's got a cool protagonist. Like, that's probably going to be one of Sony's biggest franchises for the next, I don't know, next decade, I'd imagine, at least. And like, it's already dated.
I said
the way that Zelda presented its open world, and the next true test right now is going to be either A, Shadow of War, or B, Red Dead Redemption 2. And if those games make any changes, or if Rockstar decides to delay Red Dead so they can fix some stuff in the open world because they don't want to feel dated.
But they are. They're going to feel dated, because Rockstar don't know how to develop outside their genre. They don't know how to make a game that's a really open world. They know how to make a limited open world. They don't know how to do a game that gives you that freedom. It's going to be literally paint. It's going to literally be paint by the numbers. Because guess what? When it comes to a Rockstar game, the first thing people are going to be looking for is cheats, so they could just do destruction around the world. Mm-hmm. Or it's going to be.
I'm not a huge Rockstar guy. I don't really care for their games. Like, I appreciate like the fact what Rockstar Games did for the industry, and like how the open world they did in Grand Theft Auto 3 opened up
Yes.
gaming and changed it. Like, I appreciate all of that. I'm just not a huge fan of their games. Like, I don't know why. I can't exactly pinpoint it. I just feel like I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it, but I just don't really care for the games.
I think because Ocarina of Time came out before Grand Theft Auto 3, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think they probably, I mean, they had some kind of open world platform foundation, but because it's top down arcade style kind of game for the Grand Theft Auto series, you didn't really know how to put it into 3D. Where if you look at Ocarina of Time, it gives you a blueprint, and I think Rockstar probably looked at that blueprint and expanded upon it. And Grand Theft Auto 3, because it got so much, the licensed music, the violence, the cheat, the stuff that you could do, what the game allowed you to do, that opened a whole new avenue for a lot of developers and gamers. So they made it more mature for adults than kids and teens who were stuck on world Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
And because that's been the bread and butter itself. Yes, they tried with Chinatown for the 3DS, but they haven't tried to put anything. Well, Bully, that's more of a port in a way. I think they haven't tried to open up a new IP for a Nintendo console platform.
Mm-hmm. I think the smart thing for, like, if Rockstar wanted to put their games on Switch,
mm-hmm.
I think they have enough of I honestly think Rockstar has a huge fan base. There's no doubt that a lot of people like to play their games. I think that's the move for them to put games on Switch. I think the smart thing to do would be to play to people's nostalgia and port, like, the Grand Theft Auto collection from PS2 and Xbox on there. I think, people would get a kick out of playing Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas again. I think people would get a kick playing Bully again. I think even Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5, because they're technically 360 games, would fit well on there. And putting Red Dead Redemption 1 on there, I think, would be killer for Switch. I think people would love to take that game portably. And I feel like, the first two tests of a game that a lot of people have nostalgia for is Skyrim. That's an old game being ported to Switch, and but the big draw is that it's going to be portable for the first time. And how well that sells on Switch is going to determine what everybody else does.
It's probably not going to do well on Switch.
Skyrim? I think it's going to do well. I think it absolutely.
It's going to do decent, but it's not going to do well, and I'm gonna tell you why. If that remaster or re-release on PS4 and Xbox One is any indication, barely anyone pick that up, and a lot of people will be like, "Well, we already got enough feel of Skyrim. What else can you guys give us to make us feel like that we have that love that we had for Skyrim?" And everybody already felt that with Breath of the Wild. Skyrim is going to feel dated compared to Breath of the Wild. It's good that Nintendo is getting that support. That's fine, but that support should have been a new IP that they have not shown. Should have been hinted in the latest Nintendo Direct, hinted for E3, and it should be a new IP. It shouldn't be Skyrim. People have enough of Skyrim, and if people really want enjoyment of Skyrim, they're playing it on PC with the mods, or a console with the mods if it's allowed. Yeah, it's good, but what now? Is Bethesda gonna try to have a Legend of Zelda kind of style in Skyrim to make it exclusive? That might do something. That's what probably people would expect. But Bethesda Bethesda has to do some should have did something original for Switch that has not been done to prove to see how well they would do on the Nintendo platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I in all honesty, just to like kind of put a nail in this third party discussion coffin thing, yeah. I appreciate that Bethesda is trying to contribute to the Switch, and I like the fact that Nintendo is having success with the Switch. But I didn't buy my Switch for Skyrim or Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead. I bought it for Zelda and Xenoblade and Fire Emblem. You know, I bought it for those games. And like, if I get a couple of those types of games sprinkled in between those releases, yeah, like, yeah, I will probably try out Skyrim when it comes to Switch. I'm not gonna lie. I only played Skyrim for about 3 hours when it launched on 360, and I've never touched it since then. And so maybe having it on Switch, I'll try it out and see if it's like whatever, you know, because I want to support having third-party content on Switch.
And that's what I want from third party. I want new IPs, and I want the weirdest stuff. Give me something that can't be that that doesn't fit on Microsoft or Sony platform that you guys are willing to put on Switch and respect the numbers that come from.
Mm-hmm. And I think someone that's going to do that, and they've always done it for Nintendo. And the reason why we didn't get a launch title from them is because they might be working on something more in depth than originally thought would be Ubisoft. They've always done something for Nintendo. Yes. You know, Zombie U was developed in a year, like, and I feel like as cool of an idea as that game was, there wasn't really a lot of depth to that game. And I feel like Ubisoft wants to take their time to put something on Switch, and something that's in depth and just as impactful as, you know, not as great as Zelda, because I don't think anything's going to touch Zelda for a very long time. But
yes,
you know, something that's going to have an impact on the Switch community. You know, something that's going to be, oh, look, Ubisoft is trying something different and trying really hard to make an impact on the Switch. Where are these other companies? And that's something I've always appreciated about Ubisoft. Like, that's why I support that company a lot, because they always try something new and different.
Yeah.
And so
that I'll give. Yeah.
So, like, if they do put Assassin's Creed out this year on Switch, I will buy it because, you know, I like Ubisoft a lot, and I will buy Rayman Legends for a second time, and I will probably check out whatever else they put on Switch, because, you know, they are a company that I think tries and doesn't use the, oh, Switch is underpowered, or, you know, Nintendo consoles are hard to develop for line. They never use that line. They always try.
Right. And it's fine if they want to cut their support later down for a Nintendo platform. That's completely fine. But if you're going to cut the support, make sure that the games that you had on it were at least respected and were good, and people and acknowledge that, yeah, we did sell a lot of titles on a Nintendo platform. You cannot knock one game that you put on majority of 3 different consoles and not the lowest selling one. Guess what? If you don't sell no copies on a particular console, then complain. But once you sell some copies and stuff, you know, just be respected. Be like, well, we do at least gotta say that we have some fans for the system. It's not the numbers, so maybe we should go in the route of doing small digital games. There's way for your business to make money off of a console that you think that you're not gonna sell well on.
Yeah. I really do hope that some third parties get super creative on Switch. You know, it's nice to see that support, but ultimately, like, Nintendo is what's going to drive the Switch to success. And, you know, they've got, but we've talked about this 1,000 times again, like, they've got a great roadmap ahead of them on Nintendo titles and indies. So anything else sprinkled in there, it's just going to kind of be icing on the cake for us. But I can't wait till E3. And next week or next show on Thursday, we are going to do our E3 stuff. So, hey. Lastly, Nintendo has discontinued the NES Classic. I'm very sad by this because the only time I've ever seen it is the one that you sent to me.
Cherish it.
So, and I still need a second controller. So I'm very upset by this. I'm confused by this thought that they would discontinue this.
Mm-hmm.
It is a pretty popular item, and it seems like people are still wanting them and still can't find them. Like, to discontinue a product that seems to be selling well. Like, do you think it's a push because they discontinued it because they're getting ready to push Virtual Console on Switch, or do you think that this is just? I don't know. It just seems like a weird move to me.
To me, I think it's probably manufacturing problems, and because I don't know what contract they were using to get stuff manufactured, but maybe that manufacturer couldn't keep up with the demand, and just probably didn't have the time or resources to keep to pump out more than they should. So, of course. I don't know if they're using a different manufacturer for a Switch and for 3DS, but they're probably trying to, their main consoles, the 3DS and and the Switch are, there'll be enough of them to get out. It's sad that, the NES Mini, is being discontinued. But it's not like you can't play those games on current platforms. You still on a Wii U, or even a 3DS. A lot of games that's on the so you can play. Besides, I think Star Tropics is the only one that you can't play.
Yeah.
So and I can understand people just like, well, I wanted my daughter and stuff to play the games that I wanted to play. Well, you could buy them on the other systems and have them try it. Because was people getting the NES Mini for themselves or for their children or for the family? And how many?
I mean, I wanted it for me. Because like I like it. Look at it. It's just sitting there. Super nice, just sitting there on my entertainment center with the controller ready to be played on my giant TV, which is what I've always wanted.
So, and I feel like, with that NES Mini, it, want to sell it so they got, to make a profit off of it. That's fine. The hacker thing with the ROMs and stuff, that's another story. But just couldn't keep up with the production, and I think it was going to cost them too much if they wanted fast production. And like I said, maybe the resources, they didn't have enough of it.
So, yeah, and it also sounds like it was a surprise that this thing was going to be popular.
Yeah,
and I don't know how, because I feel like Nintendo should know by now that everything they put out is at some point going to be popular. In terms of that stuff, like a retro NES is what people want. Like the amiibos, I don't know why people didn't think that those are going to be popular, because they're popular characters that people want to have nice figurines of. And they started doing more with the World of Nintendo figure line and stuff. Like those things are cool, but the amiibos, just they're like the Disney Infinities. They all look like they go together and they all look nice on the shelf. They're not all these weird, awkward sizes that don't match up, So, I don't know. It's weird that they didn't plan for this, and maybe they just want the Switch to be your all-in-one thing, after all these big 3DS releases are done. I don't know.
And they could always, they could say that it's discontinued of being sold, but they could always still make more, have them ready to go, and just be like, guess what, everybody, we're sorry that we discontinued, but now we're going to re-release it, some updated firmware or whatever, so that it can be hacked or anything, and they'll probably find a way. And we're going to be rolling it out and making sure that there's a consistent flow. But if you guys really want the experience and stuff, which are played on 3DS, I mean, they could always be turning. And don't forget, Nintendo of America didn't make this decision. That was more Nintendo of Japan. They make every decision that Nintendo of Europe, Nintendo of America has. You know, if it comes from Japan, y'all got to be mad at the folks at Japan. And they probably just thought that, you know, it was a good run. It was definitely good business for them. And I bet you the people at Nintendo are disappointed that they had to stop production. But you know, sometimes you got to make a business decision, and it would have been good money as for Nintendo. It would have been some good money, but they
plus some of that. I'm sure like they weren't making a ton of money off this either, because I'm sure the licensing of those third-party games wasn't making them money. Like, before you even factor in the manufacturing cost of the box itself, like, it's $2 a game, and you got to figure what 1/3 of those are third-party games or owned by some other third party. Like, you know, that's probably, I don't know how much money they were actually making off of this. So from a business standpoint, it was probably smart that they only sold a few of these and not having like a ton of them sitting around afterwards when they're not popular anymore.
Right. And like for me, when I looked at the list, I'm like, I pretty much own half of these games, and the other ones I barely even played when they first came out.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, for me, it's like a Mario and a Metroid box. Like, those are like my favorite games on the system. Like, I didn't really get into Zelda until N64, you know? So, I mean, having the, I do want to go back and finish those games eventually, but, you know, for me, it's a Metroid and a Mario box and a Mega Man box.
So you got those games out on other platform. Well, not other platform. Well, yeah, other Nintendo platforms, and even some collections. So you can play them on there. So there's not like those games are not available for you to play. Yeah, there's still a little bit more. But I think some of that stuff right now goes to your My Nintendo account if you buy it and connect it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Plus, like you said, I do own most of these games on 3DS and Wii U at this point, and Wii. So,
right.
It's yeah. I mean, it was a cool little thing. I guess, you know, they didn't think like people who already own these games would want one.
And may I add that I'm not mad that they made this decision that it's been discontinued. I know I'm gonna get tons of phone call at work, but people got to realize it's more into the hands of people. Don't forget you can open up a Japanese account.
Mm-hmm.
Get their eShop games.
Mm-hmm.
Games that's in Japan that never made it to America. If they get released or get buy Nintendo points for Amazon Japan, you can play some of those games too.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? If they decided to release Mother 3 and it's never coming to America, guess what? I could switch over to my Japanese account and buy the game there and play it on my Switch on the go.
Mm-hmm.
And I would build up more of a better library that's really worth it than paying $60 for about 30 some games that not all of them I'm going to play in the first place.
Yeah. I'm really excited for Virtual Console on Switch. I cannot wait to have these games on the go.
Yes.
So, just to wrap up this last story, the NES Classic Edition sold 1.5 million units in the United States, which is about triple what they expected to sell. So it was a good little device. That's not including what Europe sold or the Famicom in Japan. So
yeah, See, I would want the Famicom one. That's the one I want. I don't really want the mini. I want the Famicom one.
Yeah. And that looks cool too, but I don't know if I'm going to try to go out of my way to get that now that they're discontinued. So, but yeah, that's kind of a
temporary discontinued because the Famicom is coming back in Japan.
Yeah. So that's kind of a wrap up on our show this week. This is a fun show. We had a lot of good discussions.
Yes.
I kind of came into today's show kind of like, I don't know really what we're going to talk about since we're saving our E3 stuff for Thursday, but yeah, it's a good discussion.
Yes.
I'm excited. I'm really excited.
We always can make a discussion out of nothing.
I know. That's why I like doing these shows, because we're not like, we're on a schedule, but we're not really on a schedule. You know, we have like our points of talking, and then we kind of go off on tangents, but you know, they're tangents worth having. You know, if it wasn't a tangent worth having, you know, I was listening to this podcast on how to make a good podcast if you're just starting out, and like, you know, one of the things was stick to a schedule and don't go off on tangents. Well, that doesn't make it interesting. Like that doesn't make a show interesting. How are you going to learn your personalities? Like, how are you going to learn who you're listening to? How are you going to learn their personalities if they don't talk about the things that they enjoy, or, you know, talk about something that interests them that relates to the topic, but isn't necessarily the topic at hand? Like, I don't know. It was kind of a weird thing because everything they say was like, oh, well, that's kind of like the opposite of what we do. And our show is relatively successful from a small podcast standpoint, you know? So I don't know. I feel like we're successful because we talk a lot about the things that we are passionate about.
Yes.
And that's kind of what makes us successful. You know, I would eventually like to get guests on here as like a third host, you know, just to get a good triangle of discussion going. But like every time you and me, Ed, we talk all the time, even in Facebook chat about just the randomest Nintendo things. And it's just, I think that's what makes our show good, is because we're passionate about what we're talking about. And, you know, our website's going to reflect that very soon. And it's an exciting time to be a Nintendo fan, whether you're a new fan or an old fan or a relapse fan. So, yeah, that's our show. Thank you for listening to Nintendo Pow Block. Ed, where can we find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at @RetroCode, and you can hear my podcast, Optional Opinion, on SoundCloud and World101 at shoutengine.com.
That's it.
I have tons of other stuff, but you guys could check the NGR Radio network and get see some of my readings. I do other stuff, but I won't bog down the show with it. Just follow me on Twitter at @RetroCode, and you guys will get more information about the stuff that I do. And come discuss games with us on NGR Radio. We would love to hear what you guys think of Nintendo or video games in general. Share and post. We would love to have to interact with you guys.
Yeah, and I am going to go out and say, like, I think starting Thursday, we are going to start pushing the Pow Block Facebook group again too, because there's a lot of Switch conversation, and I feel like people would appreciate a group where, you know, I know we're all in like the NVC group and a bunch of like those spin-off groups and a bunch of groups that are dedicated to Nintendo, but I feel like the people that know us and want to follow us and want to talk about Nintendo will also be going there. So I'll have more on our next show about the Facebook group for Pow Block, but you can find me at Corey Hudson in HD on Twitter, Corey in HD on Instagram. You can find all of our content. Hopefully by the time this goes up, I'll have everything updated and ready to go and everything on ngrradio.com. Like, subscribe, and share to our YouTube page. There's going to be more stuff going up there as well. More smaller videos, more vlogs and thought pieces and stuff. So like, subscribe, and share. Check out our other shows. Ed said World 1-1 and Optional Opinion, and you can check me out on NGR Radio every Monday. And this show, Nintendo Pow Block, every Tuesday and sometimes Friday. Gotta get that down. Gotta get that second show. So, anyways, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we are out.
Bye, everybody. Woohoo!
Music is